Hi, I'm Jeff from Home Renovision DIY, and today we are in my kitchen renovation project. We're here to talk about drywall and all things pertaining to a real successful installation. But before we go any further, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't, because you're not going to want to miss all of the videos we're doing about this kitchen renovation. It's going to be spectacular. But let's dive right into it. We've already ordered our drywall, and it's sitting here behind me. But what we're going to talk about today is preparation, inspection, how to measure, how to order, how to make sure that everything is ready to go before you start drywalling. Because the biggest drag, we're going to call it, when you're installing drywall is having to stop to fix something, or you miss a step, or something gets buried in the ceiling. So I'm going to teach you my system for installing drywall quick and effectively, and it starts with preparation. So before we go any further, I'm just going to let you know that I gave my son Matthew the bulk of the work here, and he's done a pretty fantastic job. But because he's brand new, he's made a few little errors. I'm going to expect that you guys will have the same kind of situations. So instead of just fixing them first, I'm going to have him come over and join me. Matt, come on in. We're going to go a quick little tour. We're going to talk about the kind of things that you're going to miss on your projects that Matt also missed. And then we'll show you some quick remedies and solutions to all these little things that'll give you a professional result. So let's get going. First of all, nice. I'm pleased. Now, this project here is a little complicated because we've got, I don't know, 300 lights in the ceiling, right? We've got an 1880s. It's balloon frame construction, so we don't even have top plates everywhere. We don't have continuous vapor barrier. There's a lot of issues here. So our goal in this renovation is to get the house improved as far as the science of the construction, but not to go too crazy, right? Because we've got to find that sweet spot of making sense. Now, first of all, let's talk about the strapping on the ceiling. So generally, we strap the ceilings before we drywall. I don't like to screw right to the floor joist, especially with dimensional lumber, even if it's old, because it has a tendency of wanting to move around, and all the vibrations in the house will be transferred into every screw that you install. If you put in strapping first, like we've got, then all the vibrations are transferred through much less fasteners, okay? And the drywall will sit a lot tighter, and you'll find you won't get as many nail pops in time. So basically, we're not getting too crazy here. Strapping also allows us to install our drywall from one side of the wall right to the other, so we don't get any butt joints on the ceiling. So that's why we do this. If we were to hang drywall here without the strapping, we'd be hanging it this way. And since the room is over 20 feet long, we'd have butt joints everywhere. And that increases the amount of work. By putting the strapping on, now we're installing our drywall this way. Drywall comes up to 12 feet wide. Our room is just a little over 11 feet, so no butt joints. And we'll show you what a butt joint is later in the next series if you're not familiar with that. But what we mean is a butt joint takes 3 applications of mud, and the regular side of the drywall only takes 2. So this makes things a lot quicker if you can avoid having butt joints. Strapping's great, every 16 to 20 inches, and we space that out based on where the pot lights are going to be located. So when we go to drill our pot lights, we're not drilling through the wood. This was done well, right? We're all good to go. There is one issue with this. So we did a rough-in inspection with the electrical inspector, and we had all pots lined up. But since that, we've decided we're going to go 3 pendants over the island. So what I need you to do, Matt, is I need you to cut this wire and feed it through into that box, just about 2 or 3 inches, and then tighten that screw for me real quick. That way I can wire that up later, okay? So you can just curl it around and bring it in the box, okay? There you go. Yeah, those are the access. You just have to bend it open and then wiggle it off. There you go. Now, generally speaking, those boxes are already in the open position, so you can just feed the wire in. Beautiful. And if you just throw 2 inches in there or so, and then we'll tighten that up with the drill. All right, so that's awesome. We got the wires in. Can you just back them out a little bit so that when we put the drywall on, it's not causing them to be compressed in there, okay? And then here's the drill. Just tighten up that set screw. Good, and then grab the wire and just bring all those extra wires onto that side of the box. There you go, up into the ceiling. There you go, nice and tight like that. Beautiful. So now you're not going to have any problem with the compression. Now you got your pliers up on the strapping. That's how I lose most of my tools. Try not to do that. All right, come on down. That's good. We're set to go there. Okay, so there's just 2 things that I noticed over here. First of all, this is awesome because you did the bottom part and there's a joint. It's taped. This joint here, now because of the age of the home and the fact that nowhere else in this house has got a continuous vapor barrier that's sealed up, if you're just doing one room, I get it. This will work fine. but because we're eventually working our way through the whole house, we're going to bring it up to the standard of air seal. So what I want you to do, since it's full of staples and all that kind of jazz, I want you to just take the tuck tape and tape that joint together, top to bottom. And then on the bottom, where we've got the vapor barrier coming down onto the floor, I want you to get the acoustic seal, and I want you to run a nice thick bead and press that all in and throw in a couple of set staples, okay?
Gotcha.
Beautiful. Oh, again, using that as a shelf.
Oh, man.
You're going to lose that knife,
Twist it on me.
I got to get you used to wearing a pouch.
Yeah, I guess.
There you go. Sweet. Now there's two ways to seal up a vapor barrier when there's an overlap. One is with the tape, the other one is acoustic seal. Acoustic seal works great in situations where you haven't stapled it all on yet. But since this is stapled, it's just faster for us to get it done this way. Just a quick note, when you're working with this tape, always fold over the edge so that it doesn't seal against itself. It'll just save you a lot of aggravation. Okay, so this is the acoustic seal.
Basically, you just kind of like cut the tip off so that it comes out in a nice thick bead.
Sweet.
And yeah, so that when I put it on the floor, it'll squeeze in nice and tight.
Does that need to be punctured?
Probably.
Show the puncture trick.
So I guess some of these caulking guns have a little like needle here, it pops out.
It's always easier. You get full of goop.
Yeah, true. Just kind of like stick it in there and poke it a few times. It's gonna get messy. There's gotta be a better way to do that. Okay.
Right up against the edge of that, okay? Not too far into the room. Further back. There you go. And that's here. This stuff works great, but man, it makes a mess, eh? There you go. So press it in. Now we got an air seal. That is awesome. So the secret when you're inspecting your job is go one system at a time. First inspect all of your electrical, then check all of your framing, then check your air barrier, and so on and so on and so on. And if you do that, and you won't be always picking up and putting down tools. You can just keep on working through the room one tool at a time. So while Matt's cleaning off that goop, I'm gonna just throw a few screws. I'm using flooring screws here into my strapping. I noticed that the last row here wasn't done with the nail gun. And want to make sure that everything is secured properly before you hang your drywall on it. Okay, one other thing you want to inspect very carefully is your insulation. This is your last opportunity to see it. So you want to visually inspect and make sure that there are no ugly gaps like right here. Okay, if you have an ugly gap, cut open the plastic, get your hand in here, and get that filled properly. Most times what it is, it's during the installation process, someone will tuck it and a corner will pop out, right? Every action has an opposite equal reaction syndrome. When you're done that, make sure you get your tape out and seal that vapor barrier up again. Press it in there really good because this tape only sticks under pressure. If you just touch it, it won't be attaching itself, it'll just fall off. Make sure you do that. That's good. Yep, steps, good. Then we have a problem over here we better address too. So what I have here is a framing issue. I actually are missing the last piece of this interior wall. We should have a stud running along here somewhere to line up here so we have an intersection for my drywall. Now, I asked my son to put in some blocking and he did that. I should have taken the time to explain it properly because he's got it the short side here. And what I should have is the wide side, okay? So Matt, what we're gonna get you to do is pull the blocking, set it where the insulation joints are, okay? And then we're gonna go on the wide side where the insulation joint is. You pull the plastic and you can throw your screws right here on an angle and you can actually screw right through into that board, okay? It's really easy to install. You can set these screws before you put the board there. And then once you get that done, then you can take this insulation and you can just, lay it in behind the board because there's just enough room because of the old framing, right? It's an actual 2x4 here. So this R12 won't be compromised if you put it in behind this. And that'll give it a much better seal because by going underneath, you're compressing behind it, but you're creating these gaps. You see that? Right? Where the cold air will come through. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just throw at our laser level here. And this one is a little bit different than the one I usually use. There's my line right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just throw my line on here. I'll draw right over that laser line. That'll mean that's where the front edge of that 2x4 is that we're gonna stick on. And that's Awesome sauce. And then we'll throw a level on it when we install it after that. So here we go. What we want to do is we want to cut our vapor barrier where the installation joint is, because now when you go to change that wood, you'll know exactly where it goes, right in the middle. And then we're going to make cut it like an H. So you got lots of room to get in there and work. Okay, so now you can access your screws, flip that over, boom, boom, boom. And when you're done, we'll just tape it all up, okay? Awesome. There you go, there you go. Oh, they're decking screws. Right? We're just lining up our stud on that laser line that I made with my marker on the plastic. Always great to have markers with you when you're working with your vapor barrier. So much more effective than pencil. Okay, now let's put the level on it. I'll do the level, and I'll tell you when. You can hit the top for me first. Right there. There we go. All right. Throw a couple more in for good measure, just to make sure that it's not going to twist on us. Okay, so our inspection is complete. We got our back framing, our vapor barriers taken care of, our lighting, our strapping, everything is all done. We're ready for drywall, and we aren't going to have to take our hands off the installation tools once we get started. That is a huge goal. You'd be surprised how fast installation will go if you don't constantly have to stop to fix little things. The other side of it is, a lot of people when they're drywalling, if they don't have everything prepped perfectly first, the drywallers will just skip right on past all those little mistakes and they'll remain there forever. So if you're doing your own renovation and you're contracting out the drywall, that inspection is golden. Don't expect a drywaller to come in here and do any of that work for you. It'll never happen. Now, what we want to talk about is ordering your own drywall, okay? Remember we talked about strapping the ceiling so we can order our drywall, and what we want to do now is just measure the width of the room. It's a little over 11 feet. Okay, which is good. Now drywall comes in traditionally 8, 9, 10, and 12-foot sections, depending where you go. We just go like that, that's easier, okay? So what I do when I'm doing my order is I'll make a list like this, 12, 10, 9s, and 8s. In a lot of cases I don't buy 9s, but every once in a while it's really handy, especially if you have a 9-foot ceiling, all of those short walls, it's just perfect, right? So we have 11 feet across, and we have 20 feet the other direction. So the way it's going to look is, let me just draw this out. Here's my room, okay? So I'm going to have a sheet that's 4 feet wide, another sheet that's 4 feet wide, and so on and so on, okay? There's 5 of them. That's 5 times 4 feet wide, 20 feet long, and it's 11 and change, so we'll buy a 12-foot and we'll cut one end of each of those. That's how we do this. So I need 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this long wall is going to be installed with drywall on the horizontal, not the vertical. Never install drywall vertically if you are dealing with old frames because they're not parallel, they're not level, they're not straight. You want to go horizontal whenever you're dealing with structural lumber. If you're in a house that has steel framing, you can go vertical because they always install it perfectly level and you can always adjust a screw if you need to. Wood does not give you that flexibility. So we have 20 feet. Now we have 2 choices. We can put a 10 and then a 10 on the top part, but then what do? Let me just draw this out. So here's my whole long 20-foot wall. If I put a 10-foot and then another 10-foot, I have a joint right here. Then the next sheet, I want to stagger the joint. It's one of the rules of drywall. You don't want the butt joint in the same place. So I'd want a joint there, and then what am I going to do with this? Have 2 joints on a wall when it's not needed? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 12 feet with an 8, okay? And then I'll go 8 feet here with a 12. That offsets my joints. That makes life nice and simple. I only have 1 joint in each wall. Perfect. Keep that in mind. So I need 2 more 12s and I need 2 8s. And you continue on through the room like that. Measure all your ceilings first, get all your numbers. That ceiling there is 12 feet long and it's 10 feet wide. So I know I need 3 10s for the ceiling. That means the wall is also 10 feet wide. I got 2 ends of that. So I need 2 for each side. Okay. That makes life simple. Now I've got all my major walls already ready done, ordered. Only thing left is all the short walls. Now, if your wall is less than 4 feet, which would be here, anything 4 feet and less, you can order one sheet to go vertical. Because now you can span from the corner to a corner with one sheet, so you're fine. Anything under that. So I just walk through my room and I pick out all the small ones. I go, that's an 8, that's an 8, that's an 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, boom. And I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I've got all my drywall ordered. Now the last thing I do before I order my drywall, I always toss an extra couple of 8s on there because things happen, right? Damage happens, you miss adding something. It's just nice to have it around. Better to have an extra couple of sheets on the site when you're drywalling than be almost finished and have to go back to the store and pick a couple up, especially if you're getting it delivered because you don't have a truck. All right, so now we got the drywall. Let's talk about how to carry it, where you're going to put it on the job site, and how to load up the room so that you can install it without having to move it over and over and over again to get it out of your way. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm working in my kitchen, but let's just talk about a few other things that are really important because this information is useful no matter where you're working in your house. There are a variety of different drywalls in the market. Now, traditionally, we use what we call half-inch, standard, regular, ultralight. All these different terms are the same thing. There's a half-inch basic drywall. That's for residential construction whenever there's no consideration or no requirement by building code for fire safety or water or moisture control. So most of the house is going to get that half-inch. If you're working in a bathroom, you might have a code requirement for using a green, water, and mold resistant board. Those are options as well. And generally speaking, it's only specific to a bathroom. Some people use it on the back wall of a kitchen if they're tiling and expecting if there's a sink there for water damage. That's an option as well. The other kind of drywall that is most common is the 5/8 drywall. It's what we call type X. Now, on the back of this drywall, you can see it's just got a print, the date and manufacturer, and that's it. On type X drywall, the drywall itself has got a band written on it and it actually says type X drywall on it. That's for the inspectors when they're doing a tour of the job site. They know, yes, that's fire rated drywall. And it'll even say whether it's 5/8 or half-inch because they're different ratings for fire code. We don't want to get into too much of that right now. But in most residential situations, if you're using type X firewall board, it's because you're in a row house or you have a semi-detached and your neighbor, the building code requires a fire separation wall between the two dwelling units, okay? So if you have a bathroom that you're renovating and that bathroom wall is on your neighbor's side of the property and you're sharing that wall, that drywall has to be type X. So you want to put in your fire rating wall first, then put in your moisture board, okay? Very important. You can't cheat there because it's a matter of liability in case something goes horribly wrong. Now, the only other time you're going to use 5/8 drywall is if you're using sound control measures. If you're putting insulation and you want to help make things a little bit more dense, you can add 1 or 2 layers for soundproofing. And if you want to learn about soundproofing, we're going to put a link in the description because we've got a few videos that are awesome information about soundproofing. And it's really important to have that understanding before you go close up because there are issues there that you might want to address in your house as well. Now that we understand all the different kinds of drywall that are out there, let's get busy with the next step. So when I'm bringing drywall into a house, I like to stack it up against the wall and not on the floor. And that's generally because it keeps it a lot cleaner. You'll end up using it as a ladder and it's just not necessary. If you're using a drywall lift to put your drywall in position, you don't want anything on the floor in the room. That's what I like to use. I'm a big fan of using the machine to lift my ceilings in place. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of comments from contractors out there going, oh, we just lift it up and hold it, somebody else screws the board. And that's great if you got 2 or 3 guys on your crew. But this system works amazing for homeowners. You might be by yourself or have one guy helping you and you're not used to working with it. You don't want to be lugging that around and causing yourself injury because you're using muscles you don't usually use. So rent a drywall lift if you need to. And if you want to see a video about drywall lifts and some of the different ones that are on the market, check the description below because I went out and I bought the one that was for sale on Amazon. And we did a comparison test between the North American made product and the one that comes across from China. And you're going to be surprised at that result. It's worth a look. But anyway, let's get back to this. I like to bring my drywall into the room and put all the short ones on the wall first. Because the shorter the drywall, the less important it is to my installation and usually gets installed last. So I put my 8s first, then my 10s, then my 12s. The reason for this is I'm going to start installing my biggest part of my ceiling first, which is all my 12-footers. And then I'm going to install my other ceiling, which is on my 10-footers. And then when that's all done, I'll come back with the 8s and I'll do little touch-ups. I put it on the longest wall because this is the one that can stay till the very end. And if there's a couple of sheets left over, I can set them aside and then we'll put those on later. But I have all my drywall in one place. Now my cart can go anywhere in the room and I don't have obstacles and I don't have things to trip over. And I'm not constantly moving drywall from one section to another while I finish the house. So put it all in one spot, have one place to work, and you're golden. Now, all right, so when this stuff gets delivered, it's gonna come generally in groups of 2 like this. Sometimes, that'll come in singles, but most of the time it comes in groups. And it has a piece of cardboard underneath the paper, and it's designed to tear that paper off so that the sheets can be separated. So generally speaking, you got 3 options for delivery. One is you go there with a truck and you pick it up yourself. Now, you need a whole lot of truck to be able to put 12-foot sheets of drywall in there without having an accident on the way home. And an average renovation space like this is 20 to 30 sheets, so it's a lot of weight. I generally try to have it delivered, and I have a truck. So, and I know in some of my videos I've harped a little bit about on the box stores because of their prices, but when it comes to building materials like drywall, generally speaking, the Home Depot and the Lowe's are the greatest deal in town. They have the lowest price per sheet. Now, if you're just going in for a few sheets and you get a great deal, you throw in your truck, you drive home, great. If you're looking for long ones and you're getting it delivered, then you start looking at options. You might be able to go to a drywall contracting firm where all they do is drywall delivery and installation, and you can get a price there. Now, their price per sheet is going to be a lot higher, but they have additional delivery services that you want to balance out when you're looking at that. They'll put it on a truck, and sometimes they'll not just deliver it to the driveway, but they'll walk it right into the house for you for about $1 a sheet, or even better. Sometimes it's 50 cents. So check your competition in the area you live in, because you might be able to get a deal where the overall cost of the project is lower if you buy more expensive drywall and get better service. And the reason is this: carrying 30 sheets of drywall off the truck and into your own house sometimes can take an hour or 2. It's exhausting, and you might find yourself too tired to finish working for the rest of the day. So if you want to be effective and efficient, you can have it delivered and have a couple of young bucks come running it in the house and drop it on the wall for you. You just got to tell them how you want it set up, and they'll do it for you. You're good to go. Then you take your drywall lift, and you can get everything installed in the same day, and it's not quite so exhausting. So we're going to just demonstrate a couple of tips here on ways to lift and carry your drywall. That'll help reduce fatigue, and it'll make sure that the wind won't blow it away on you. Here we go. We're just going to pick it up together, straight up, and I'm going to turn around and reverse my hands. Now it looks a little awkward at this point, but what you'll see is my arm creates a slope, okay? So that I can hold the top of the drywall like this. And what Matt's going to be doing is he's going to be holding it a certain way so that he's not fighting with me. If you're not carrying it in the same direction with the same slope, then you're always twisting and pulling and you're going to hurt your back. So I can walk around, I can open doors as I'm working, everything like that, no problem at all, okay? So you'll see the way that Matt's carrying it, his hand is turned the other way, but he's also got the same angle. Okay, so if I'm carrying it this way, we're fighting with the drywall the whole time we're walking. So that's why both of us carrying it with our arms out creates that natural slope. And then if you get around, you can duck, you can get around obstacles, no problem, right? Now, come on back. And then we're gonna flip it, because we always have the drywall with the white paper facing you when you're measuring and cutting. The way you flip it, if you're on end to end with a long sheet, is quick, or it might snap. Ready? Go. Okay, there we go. Whew, that's precarious. The other way to flip it is to work into the middle a little bit, and then we can both flip it together, working the sheet.
This is cheesy.
Just make sure you keep your back straight and you'll be fine. Now let's set it back in. Now, when you're carrying 12-foot sheets of drywall, they can be heavy. Put your knee out. All right, now what we've got here is friction. So as long as you're putting a little bit of pressure on this drywall, you don't have to carry it. You just create a little bit of friction and you can control the drop. Okay, so that way you're not gonna be slamming it on the ground and dropping it. Nobody has to work too hard. Now we've got all our drywall in place, the white paper's facing out, ready to measure and cut. All right, so now it's time for measuring and cutting. Now listen, if you've learned anything in this video so far, feel free to take 2 seconds and give us a quick thumbs up and let YouTube know that we've done a good job in informing you of some new stuff. Now, if you want to learn about measuring and cutting, you're going to have to click the end screen right here and follow along as we are in this process. And if this video just came out and the end screen's not working, then you need to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications, and next week when the new video comes out, you'll be able to watch it then.